call the meeting to order of the Planning Commission. A couple notes before we start the meeting. Item number 1A and 1B, the proposed plan unit development for Kirkham Second Edition, the Teak House, is being withdrawn. So there'll be no further action today on this item. However, note that item 2 on today's agenda is a conditional use permit for the same property. So if you're here for item 1, you might want to stay for the item 2. Commissioners, there will be a number of laydown items, some in front of us, potentially for more on items 3, 6, 8A, B, and C, and D2. So we have a full packet today. We'll try to keep things moving. One more update, our September meeting, because of the holiday, will be on a Thursday and not a Tuesday. So adjust your calendars accordingly and let staff know if you're going to be gone so we can make sure we have a quorum. If there's no questions on that, we'll look at the regular agenda and look for a motion to approve the order of agenda.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Item number B, the minutes from our July 5th meeting. If anybody had a chance to review those, take a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any comments? All in favor say aye.
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 Aye, and motion passes. Moving on to the public hearing items, again, 1A and 1B were withdrawn. Item number 2 is the Kirkham Second Edition, and we'll ask Kim to come up and give us a presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. Kirkham Second Edition is a request for a conditional use permit for an alternative access plan for a parking reduction. The location is 1129 and 1131 14th Street North and located just south of NDSU campus. The property is zoned MR3, which is multi-dwelling residential, and the existing use of group living will continue. The applicant, Todd Canine, is representing Tau Kappa Epsilon TKE fraternity is here. TKE is proposing to demolish the existing structure and construct a new house on the existing property for 24 students and 1 house director. The initial designs were inspired by NDSU's Old Main, but that design included 2 covered porches that exceeded the allowable building coverage. So the initial application, as noted by the chair, in 1A and 1B were for a PUD that would allow flexibility for the building coverage and parking. Following an open house on May 25th, where neighborhood and property owners near the project learned a little bit more, there was some concern with that flexibility on building coverage, so the applicant has withdrawn that initial PUD application and is proceeding with simply the conditional use permit to allow for less parking at their location. As I mentioned, the Roosevelt neighborhood has been in contact with the TKE house members and their design teams as this project has proceeded. There have been no comments regarding this application. The applicant is still redesigning the building, so we don't know exactly what the new design will look like. But they're requesting a reduction from 21 spaces to 8 on-street spaces, bike parking, and NDSU passes, and those are included in the conditions. Staff finds the proposed conditional use permit application complies with all the standards and review criteria, and staff recommend approval. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Kim. Is there any questions? Invite the applicant up to speak. I didn't see Todd here, but if there's anybody if you have anything to say.
I'm representing TKE.
Is there any questions for the applicant? We'll invite him up if there is. Seeing no questions, thanks for coming today. Anybody else from the public would like to speak in favor or against the project? I feel like we should put reserve signs in the back several rows so that people have to sit closer. But seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any discussion or ready for a motion?
I move to approve the motion in the staff report.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. I guess just for some discussion, giving us a little more rundown of what the back and forth was at the neighborhood association. For those that couldn't make it, maybe they can see this online. To
Sure.
add a
So
little
at
bit,
the
especially
open,
with the parking and why we're okay with that reduction.
at the open house, we had neighborhood concern on exceptions to land development code. I think they were understood that there would be parking issues, and they were okay with that. And when they were looking at the different designs and facade treatments with the design team, they didn't realize that the different options included some exceptions to the rules that were above parking. And so once there was a little bit more of a clear understanding between the applicant and the neighborhood that they weren't interested in exploring that further flexibility with the PUD.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll take the roll.
Holtz. Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Kim. We'll invite Donald up for item number 3, Valley View 9th edition.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. Item number 3, as the Chair has stated, is Valley View 9th Edition. This is located here on 40th Avenue South, south of Independence Elementary School. This one might look familiar to you, as this same property was before your commission on the July meeting, the July 5th meeting, for a rezone and a growth plan amendment, which your commission recommended approval for, and which will be going to the City Commission on Monday, August 8th. So this coming Monday will be before the City Commission. This proposal here is to plat the property, just to divide it in two. The zoning here is MR3, but if the zoning, proposed zoning gets approved, it will be zoned to limited commercial with a conditional overlay, which is what was before your commission in July. Subject property looks about the same as it did last month there, undeveloped. Here you're looking, Independence Elementary School is off to the side here, looking southwest. This is 40th here. And then here we're looking straight south. This is about in the middle of the property, and right about here, whereas about where the line is going to be on the plat. And the plat shows here just 2 lots. I believe the applicant does have a plan for development of Lot 2 at this time. Lot 2 would be coming up in the future here. You did receive an updated or a laydown item related to this. Just as an update of the plat that was in your packet, it adds the flood denotation, the flood area denotation, the floodplain denotation, and some other, makes a couple corrections to the wording there. Corrects the Planning Commission Chairman's name for one thing. So that's just an update, no significant change to the plat, just some changes we had the applicant make for us to meet our standards. The applicant, Brian Kanowski, is with us this afternoon, and they wish to address the commission. The staff's recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for Donald? Seeing none, is the applicant here and wish to add anything? Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, anybody else from the public wish to say anything against or for the project? Seeing nobody else standing up, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll.
Tassa,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, and the motion passes. Moving on to item What are we on, number 5?
No, 4, sir.
4, thank you. Item number 4, Donald?
Yes, sir, thank you. Item number 4 is the Peterson Second Edition, a minor subdivision located, there you go, located here, 29th Street South, North, 4th Avenue North. Here's Main Avenue down here. This would be C&H manufacturing facility here. Parts of that just almost wrap around this location here. The property is zoned limited industrial. This is a proposal for a minor subdivision to split this lot in half. The zoning is not changing. It will remain limited industrial. This is the site here. It's occupied by a CenturyLink, owned by Quest CenturyLink. It's largely their warehouse and a yard they have here. Just a couple different views looking southwesterly and some northwesterly from that property. A couple of years ago, we did do an earlier subdivision on this property here, the Peterson first subdivision, which is this property here. So this is the second. And the plat looks like this. It takes the lot that Quest owns here, which is a combination of some lots that were platted as the Schultz and Lindsay's addition, and splits it into 2 lots, again, for continued industrial development. I believe Mr. Peterson is going to be purchasing one of those lots in the future as well for his continued development of his business on the south side there. We have received no comment or questions from the public. Mr. Peterson of Peterson Mechanical is with us this afternoon. And, okay, I guess the applicant's engineer is not here. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, you mentioned the applicant isn't here. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing nobody in the public wishing to speak, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented by staff.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Take the roll.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Tassa. Aye. Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. The motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Moving on to item number 5, we'll ask Luke to come up and apologize, I didn't forewarn you. I didn't know my company has a corporate relationship with this application, and so I'm going to remove myself from this. I didn't know that until now, and so apologize for that, but I'll just remove that just to prevent any issues. And ask the vice chair to take over number 5.
Surely. Go ahead. Do you want to present?
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners. Luke Mormon with Planning Department. Item number 5 on your agenda is Timber Parkway 8th Edition, located at 50, 56, and 5160 Charles Way. To give you some context, if you can see the cursor on the screen, we have Timber Parkway South, 52nd Avenue South, Jack's Way South, which runs on the north side of the property, and then Charles Way runs on the south side of the property. The applicant is requesting a minor subdivision entitled Timber Parkway 8th Edition, which is a replat of lots 1 and 2, Block 1, Timber Parkway 7th Edition. And this doesn't adjust the existing lots, but just removes the negative access easement on a portion of Jack's Way. These are currently both undeveloped. Zoning is GC, general commercial, and no zone changes proposed. For site photos, on the top, we have facing southwest towards the subject property from the intersection of Timber Parkway and Jack's Way South. And then on the bottom is facing west along Jack's Way, where the negative access easement will be along the left, or is along the left side of the curb. Once again, the plat removes a portion of the negative access easement along Jack's Way here, and the existing lots are unchanged. Staff has received no inquiries in response to the project. We find that all criteria to be met and are recommending approval. I believe the applicant is here to answer any questions, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Luke. Any questions for Luke?
I'm going to play my newbie card for a moment. Explain what a negative access easement is, please.
So that denies the driveway access along that portion of it. So you can see the hatching, which goes along most of Jack's Way and then most of Timber Parkway South as well.
Jack's, Jack's Way, is that private?
Yep, both Jack's Way and Charles Way are private drives.
Any other questions for Luke?
I guess, just for general, can you discuss what, or share a little bit about parking and regulation? Because for privately owned streets and roadways, the city does not have any authority, is that, or the city doesn't do any regulation over that?
That's correct for the driveway spacing, but the engineering department does take a close look at it. And with this project, the applicant submitted a traffic study, which the engineering department reviewed and looked closer at, and it might play into some extra action items by time of building permit. But the parking is regulated by the Land Development Code, which again will come up with the building permit application. If that answers your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Luke? Is the applicant here? Do we have any questions for the applicant? Alrighty, we will, anybody want to speak for or in opposition of this agenda item? I see none. We'll close the public hearing. Any discussion, commissioners? If not, I will take a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
We have a first, second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion before we take a vote? All right, take the roll.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye, motion passes.
All right, I'll take back over with item number 6, and we'll continue with Luke.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 6 on your agenda is Simonson Company's second edition, located at 5237 38th Street South, 3825, 3863, and 3901 53rd Avenue South. On the north side of the subject properties, you have 52nd Avenue South. On the south, we have 53rd Avenue, and then on the east is 38th Street South. The applicant is requesting a zone change to repeal and reestablish a conditional overlay on lots 1 through 4, Block 1, Simonson Company's second edition, and all of these lots are currently undeveloped, besides the private drive as shown on the aerial imagery. The zoning is LC limited commercial with a conditional overlay today, and it is going to be changed to, again, limited commercial with a different conditional overlay. The base zoning will remain unchanged. For some site photos, on the top we have facing west across the subject property from 38th Street South, and then 52nd Avenue is on the right side of the screen, and you can see Happy Harry's in the background, which is to the west of the subject property. On the bottom, we're facing northeast from 53rd Avenue South, and then you can kind of see the intersection between 52nd Avenue and 38th Street South. To summarize the conditional overlay, you've received a laydown item with the proposed CO, and the applicant is essentially simplifying the existing CO to more of our typical verbiage that is along our arterials in town. The proposed CO matches those to the west, including Happy Harry's and First Community Credit Union, to name a couple. The existing CO was originally derived from the District of Fargo, which are some of the most complex overlays in the city. And so this is intended to simplify future development for staff and applicant. The staff has received and responded to one inquiry about this project. Just general items from the conditional overlay cover the building materials, color schemes, facade variation, screening of equipment and service areas, pedestrian circulation, on-premise signage restrictions, and parking lot landscaping. Staff finds that all criteria are met and that we recommend approval. And then the applicant, Blake Carlson, is present to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions for Luke?
You mentioned the District of Fargo overlay is rather complex. What what makes it that? What is the variation with this?
So in general, the current overlay, it has maybe a couple bullet points for landscaping, but the District of Fargo ones has extensive parking lot landscaping, or like along the perimeter, internal parking lot landscaping, including foundation plantings around the building, restrictions to more of the building material, which is similar, and then a little more particular with pedestrian circulation, such as materials for the pedestrian circulation. That's a general overview of that.
Maybe just to add, so the district is when the Walmart went into effect right there, there was sort of a grand plan from the developer that was, I'll just say was complicated because Walmart was somewhat controversial at the time and was probably overkill on the need. So the District of Fargo isn't necessarily the city of Fargo, just to clarify. It's the specific development.
And to add to that, the district also, it's generally over in this area. So here's Walmart. We have Panda Express, AutoZone, and Starbucks, which it also covers.
Any other questions? Seeing none, is the applicant here and wish to speak? You introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name's Arch Simonson, and I'm the developer and the current owner of this property. Luke, thank you for your overview. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Thanks for being here. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. I'm next on the agenda again, so maybe I'll just stand here.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see, anybody else in the audience wish to speak to this item? Anyone else here in favor or against? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve as presented.
Motion for approval, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Please take the roll.
Holtz,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Luke, number 7, please.
Sure. Item 7 on your agenda is Simonson Company's third edition, which is located at just 3863 53rd Avenue South. Once again, you see 52nd Avenue South, 38th Street, and 53rd Avenue. This subject property was included in the previous item, but a separate entitlement for just the minor subdivision. This is a replat of Lot 4, Block 1, Simonson Company's second edition. The zoning is limited commercial and no zone changes proposed, once again, just within this item. For site photos on the top, we're facing northwest across the subject property from the private drive, which is internal to the development. And then on the bottom, we're looking south from 52nd Avenue South. The plat subdivides one lot into two, and the applicant is, one note on this plat that is shown is that the applicant's working with the fire department to clarify the fire easement. So the easement located here might not end up on the final plat that's reviewed and approved by engineering, but it'll be addressed by time of building permit review. Staff has received no inquiries in response to this project. We find that all criteria are met and are recommending approval. And once again, the owner and applicant are present to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions for Luke? I just have one comment. I noticed the extra work that have gone into the pictures, and that's always helpful. And the call-out boxes on the map. I noticed this one didn't have the call-out zoom on the map, and so I like that on the other ones because that seems like a change. So appreciate that. The applicant, you're here again. Would you introduce yourself one more time for the record? Just
Again, Arch Simonson, I'm the developer.
Thanks. Would you like to add?
Here
any?
to answer any questions you might have.
Sure. Is there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thanks again. Anybody from the public wish to speak to this item? Seeing nobody in the public, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I move to approve with the motion in the staff report.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the roll.
Holtz,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes. We'll go on to item 8A, B, and C with Megan.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Luke.
Yep, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and Planning Commissioners. Item 8A, B, and C is titled Fitzsimmons Second Edition. This application before you is three-part. There is a conditional use permit application, a zoning change, as well as a minor subdivision. The property is located at, or the subject property is located at 3716, 3740, and 3750 51st Avenue South. You can see up on the map here, I-29, 52nd Avenue, and there's these three lots right here. These lots are 5 through 7, Block 1 of Fitzsimmons Edition. Applicant Blake Carlson with Christian Companies is here today, should you have any questions. And you should have a laydown item in front of you with an updated plat with the item numbers at the top that I'll talk a little bit more here in a minute. Up on your screen are images of the property. On the top, this is facing southeast from 51st Avenue, and just below, this is facing west from the east end of the property. So these three lots are currently undeveloped. The conditional use permit, which is proposed on Lot 1 of the Fitzsimmons Second Edition, is a request to reduce parking to provide one space per 10,000 gross square footage for a self-service storage use on that particular lot. We did receive a study that was provided by the applicant that provided some information about the demand for this particular facility, which is approximately 140,000 square feet, with the information or the outcome to provide one space per 10,000 square feet. The study was reviewed by the traffic engineer who concurred with the findings. For self-service storage per the Land Development Code, parking requirements are 1 plus 1 space per 2,500 square feet of a self-serve storage. The zoning change is for a conditional overlay modification, similar to what the Planning Commission saw last month. The modification is to strike one use of vehicle repair to the existing conditional overlay, which is ordinance 5206. There's no other change to the conditional overlay, and the base zoning district of general commercial will remain. The minor subdivision is to replat 3 legal lots of the original Fitzsimmons edition into 2 lots. You can see up on your screen, with this, there will be the vacation of a utility easement as well as notation of a stormwater easement on the site. The updated plat is up on your screen. From the packet, there's just a change of the stormwater easement being contained on Lot 1. Originally with the packet, the easement extended south and was also on Lot 2. Staff did receive one inquiry from a nearby property owner who had no noted concern. And staff is recommending approval with the recommendation on your screen, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I had one question. You know, when we change the conditional overlay to remove a vehicle repairs, so the assumption is a vehicle repair is going in there? Is that?
Yeah, thank you for that. I breezed over that and didn't intend to. So vehicle repair, what they intend to do on Lot 2, I'll jump to the plat, on Lot 2 is for a tire store. So vehicle repair is a little bit different than limited vehicle service, which you saw as a use at the last meeting that was to be removed from the prohibited list. The main difference between the two is limited is where someone typically stays with their vehicle, like we were talking about a gas station or a car wash. Vehicle repair is more typical where somebody is not present. So typically, repairing of an auto, motorcycle, boats, things of that nature. But what they intend to do, and within vehicle repair, is a tire sales store. And that is what they intend to build on Lot 2 or hope to build on Lot 2.
No, I appreciate the extra detail. I guess I have a question, why is it in a conditional overlay? What's the staff's logic that it's in there, but then we're okay removing it?
Sure. This location was once intended as a big box development back in 2006 or right around there. Since then, this particular conditional overlay has been amended once I think it was with the Fitzsimmons plat, where obviously that big box store never came to fruition. Those plans have changed, and now it is more of a smaller scale development.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Megan?
I got one question.
Go ahead.
As far as access, so if there's gonna be self-storage on block 1 and some sort of tire store on block 2, what's the access?
Yep, so these lots will be served by 51st Avenue, and right here where my cursor is, there's an existing access easement.
So they can get to it on the north too, on 51st?
They can get to Lot 1 on the north, and then to Lot 2 technically through this access easement, but if you look at the preliminary site plan here, there is a driveway that appears to connect there as well, though it's not a public access easement on the plat, but circulation may occur, and the applicant may be able to speak to that in a little bit more detail.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Megan? Looks like we might have a question for the applicants. We'll invite the applicant up. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Blake Carlson with Christensen Companies. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great.
Can you clarify the access, if that will be a road from the north, if you can access block 2 from the north, or if you have to go through that Aldi's parking lot?
So we're still working through the site design of both the north and the south lots in relation to fire access and all the different needs, parking, et cetera. There's guaranteed access through the access easement that's there right now. I don't think we were planning on doing an access easement to the north, but in all practicality, that would be a way that people could drive through. But they have access with the current access easement.
Even for block 1, you weren't gonna have an access to the north?
Lot 1 does have access
Okay.
to the north. It's touching that right away there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thanks for comments. Anything additional, I guess, Alice? As an applicant? Nope. Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this item, for or against? Seeing nobody else from the public, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners, any further discussion? Any questions?
The question better, I should have asked for staff. You've got in the write-up, exploring reductions in minimum parking standards as a key initiative. Help me understand more of what's the goal with reducing parking and.
Sure. Yeah, in Go 2030, as you noted, a big goal or initiative there is to look at parking reductions where it makes sense, or being creative with parking, such as shared parking, so that the city is kind of maximizing the parking and is not building seas of parking that are especially unnecessary or maybe used to their full extent, maybe only a handful of times, so.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, and someone want to make a motion?
Move to approve with motion and staff report.
Thank you, Scott. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Please take the roll.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Then the motion passes. Ask Luke back to the podium to talk about agenda number 9, the West Acre 7th edition.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yep. Item 9 is West Acre 7th Edition, located at 1882 39th Street South. You can see I-94 and I-29 on the aerial imagery. We have 40th Street South on the west side of the property, then 19th Avenue, which turns into 39th Street as well on the north side. The applicant is requesting a zone change for Lot 1, Block 1, West Acre, 7th Edition, and it is currently undeveloped. The zoning is GC General Commercial and is proposed changed to MR3 Multi-Dwelling Residential. This will match the adjacent lot to the east, as you can see here with the zoning map. For some site photos, we're facing west along the property frontage along 19th Avenue South. You can see the existing Lot 2 of West Acre 7th Edition, so this office building you can see in the background here. And then on the bottom, we're facing northeast across the subject property from 40th Street South. Staff has received no inquiries in response to this project and finds that all criteria are met and are recommending approval. The applicant, Kevin Hotchman, is present and willing to answer any questions for you. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll ask the applicant up if there's questions or anything additional you would like to add. Anybody have questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is anybody else from the public here that wishes to speak for or against the project? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve per staff recommendation.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Please take the roll.
Holtz,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, and the motion passes. I'll just say that this is our largest packet in some time, and so it's really a credit to the staff that it's going so quickly and smoothly, so appreciate you ironing out all the wrinkles for us. Next one probably won't be as easy, because Brad, it's your welcome to the staff, and I think it's your first time up here.
Yes,
So
thank you,
welcome to the team. So if we've been saving all of our tough questions for Brad, this would be a great time to just unleash them. Yeah. But no, please go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. As mentioned, my name's Brad Garcia with Planning, and I'll be presenting item number 10, which is a minor subdivision. And this property currently doesn't have any development on it. Just a location for it is, this is Drecker Brewing down here on the south side along First Avenue North. And then on the north side is Unicorn Park, which is located right here on 3rd Avenue North. And again, this is zoned general commercial, and there is no change in zoning proposed. This is a simple lot split, turning one lot into two. Here are some photos from 44th Street and looking west, or I'm sorry, from 16th Street looking west. And then again, here's just the preliminary plat. Again, this is the full existing property, and then splitting it into two lots. And we did look at this through the core neighborhood plan, and it does meet the recommendations for the core neighborhood plan as being zoned general commercial use. So there would be no change or concern with that. Staff has not received any public comments at this time. Pending any questions, that concludes staff's presentation. And the applicant, Jesse Craig, is here as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Brad. I guess I had one question. It's maybe more for Nicole, but you know, we keep seeing this corridor come before us, and it just seems like it's begging for more staff attention as like a corridor plan. And just curious, what is the vision do we have for a city on this, or are we just, you know, there's so much interest and opportunity in this corridor that it seems like we should have a bigger focus?
That's an extremely good question. Based on the multiple different uses that are along that corridor, it's been pretty challenging to be able to really pinpoint one direction that this is going to grow. We've had recent industrial developed, as well as, you know, the whole Drecker complex. I think once we get more in the growth plan and get a little more speed in the core neighborhood plan to be able to maybe pinpoint look at some of these hot spots, that's when we're gonna be able to maybe work on what we wanna see in the future. There's a lot of opportunity for transition in this immediate area, especially in First Avenue.
Okay. Any other questions on this item for Brad? Come on. We'll ask the applicant, Jesse, if you could come up. I have a question for you, so.
Yes, sir.
You just want to introduce yourself for the record, I guess?
Jesse Craig, Craig Development.
Thanks for being here. I guess similar question, you know, there's not a lot of detail on what you're planning to do on these properties, but I know you've done other ones along this corridor, and it just seems like we're taking them as they come instead of looking at, you know, what's the future vision here, and given your investment in the area, thought
Yeah.
you had some thoughts for us.
No, I got the office there, you know, where Craig Properties, Craig Development is, and then I got the Brian Hart property under contract and worked with Kevin Bartram to make that happen. So we're cleaning up the area slowly. This one's a little off of First Avenue, of course, but I do have the shops that are connected to this. We're seeing a big influx in those shops going from, you know, more of a industrial or kind of a contractor spot to more artists and bakers and novelty shops like that. So I think you're going to see that happening. I think it's just as soon as you get west of University Drive, it tapers off. You just don't have that downtown walkability and things like that. And if you're ever on First Avenue, it's fast. There's no parallel parking. You got it's hard to back out of my you know, First Avenue parking spaces onto First Avenue to get out of that office that we have there. So I think it's going to be a major overhaul if you were going to try to slow down traffic and make that more user friendly. I mean, I know they put the sidewalks in on the south side. That helped a lot for some walkability, but it's going to be hit and miss just because it's a long line. It's miles versus, you know, blocks. So yeah, just my 2 cents.
Great. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Appreciate your entertaining my question. Anybody else from the public like to speak to this item? For or against? Seeing nobody else from the public, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll move to approve as presented.
Motion, is there a second? All right, motion and second. Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Shuey.
Aye.
Stoffren.
Aye.
Holtz. Aye. Schmidt.
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Brad. Moving on to number 11, we'll invite Donald back up to talk about the Sanders edition. Thunder Road.
I think about that too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Continuing our theme of small subdivisions on this agenda, this is the Sanders edition. This is actually a combination of 2 lots into one rather than a division of 2 lots. This property is, here's Thunder Road, as the Commissioner was suggesting here, I-29, I-94, Flying J truck stop. And these properties are portions of 2 lots of the Adams 5th edition, which the applicant, Mark Sanders, wishes to combine into a single lot. The zoning here is limited industrial. No zone change is proposed. It's an open field. It's an interestingly configured property. Other parts have been cut out of this over the years, so that accounts for its different configuration there. Again, just an undeveloped property here. This is the Flying J. This is Jones Construction. This is Eddie and Barkus over here. And then this is the view from the cul-de-sac. As you see here, there's just a narrow entrance here. They do actually own that strip. That's and there's all 3 of these take access off that strip there. So that's what that looks like. The Sanders Edition plat here, as you see, combines the underlying lots into one, and will also working with the utilities to vacate this easement. So that'll be something that'll be reviewed before that goes to the city commission. We did receive one call from the adjacent property owner today, just asking about the project. We did talk to him. He did not have any objection. The applicant's representative, Kyle Bartram of MBN Engineering, is with us this afternoon. Staff's recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions? Seeing none, is the applicant here and wishes to add anything? Anybody else from the public would like to say anything for or against the project? Seeing nobody here from the public, close the public hearing. Commissioners, any comments or what are your wishes?
I move to approve with the motion in the staff report.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Please take the roll.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. I'll go back to Donald at up north.
Yes, sir. So our, the breadth of our agenda went from 52nd Avenue North to 52nd Avenue South, just to give you a little geography background there. This proposal here along 52nd Avenue North is the Dakota Commerce Center North Edition. I will note, Commissioners, that this is the last of our public hearing items. The next item is item D1, a non-hearing item, which relates to the proposed annexation that will go with this. So they're two separate items, but the overall project goes together. Just to locate this here, here's 40th Avenue North, County Road 20, Amazon here, recently approved, and down here, Dakota Commerce Center, also developed by this, the current developer, Paul Hyde, as a large lot industrial subdivision. He is now in the process of acquiring this property from the Holmquist family. It's 112 acres. This will be annexed. It's an owner-initiated annexation. Again, we'll talk about that in item D1. And then what is before you on this item is the major subdivision and the zone change. The zone change would be from ag, which almost all properties in the ETJ or the extraterritorial jurisdiction are, to limited industrial. And as you see, that limited industrial will match the development on the west side of 37th Street North there. We've got a couple photos of the property. Here we're on 37th Street, as yet undeveloped. Looking northwest, that building way out there is the Pepsi softball complex. As you saw here in the photograph, this 52nd Avenue is up against the city's sewage lagoons up here. And this picture is standing on that levee facing south. This is Amazon. This is looking down this west along 52nd Avenue here. This is the subject property. Some guy parked his truck out there. I don't know who that was. And then this is standing on 52nd Avenue looking where the future street will be dedicated again. This is the subject property on this side. These are the adjacent properties on the right. That'd be 41st Street. So in that last photo, we're standing right about here. As you see, the plat proposes 4 lots, 2 large lots, 2 smaller lots. The applicant, Paul Hyde, is with us this afternoon. If you have questions about the proposed development, he can detail that for you. The plat also dedicates right-of-way for 4 streets, 48th Avenue North, a portion of 37th, a portion of 52nd, and a portion of 41st. And that is a requirement to have access for this. Another item that is included in this subdivision is a subdivision waiver for block length. As is detailed in the findings in your staff report, the Land Development Code proposes a maximum block length of 1,320 feet, quarter mile. This exceeds it in both directions. That, as explained in the findings, for a large industrial subdivision like this, there's really no way to put a road down the middle because this is platted as one large lot and there's no way to go through the sewage lagoons. And then again, this continuity here doesn't really line up with anything existing either. Though not shown on the plat, it will be a requirement of this project, as it was in the Dakota Commerce Center original one, that when the final location of the buildings is determined, the applicant will record cross-access easements between all these lots. So there actually will be a way to get north and south on this property, and a little bit east and west, not across here, but a little bit east and west. So there will be some options for connectivity. Again, these are probably not largely customer serving, they're mainly truck warehouse situations. But that same waiver was approved on the previous Dakota Commerce Center by your commissioner and the city commission. And the recommendation, staff's recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. And Mr. Paul Hyde, the developer, and Mr. Conrad Olson, real estate broker representing the Holmquist family, are both with us this afternoon. They wish to address the commission. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for staff?
I have a couple questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe one of these would be better left for the owners, but you can tell me.
Give it a try. I'm
All
ready to
right.
try.
I guess my first question is, can you talk a little bit about owner-initiated annexation?
Yes, ma'am. So when property is annexed into the city, the North Dakota Century Code specifies two options. One is an owner-initiated annexation, in which the owner of the property brings forth a petition wishing to annex the property, and then they have to supply certain things, including a legal description and a subdivision plat. And then we take it from there. The city takes it from there, takes it through a process. Your role in that process, your commission's role in that process, is to review the proposed annexation for consistency with the applicable growth plan, which we'll be doing in item D1. There is also a city-initiated annexation where it's a different process, ends up with the same result, where the city would propose annexing land into the city limits, usually after consultation with the property owners, and that goes through a seemingly more formal process. We have to start it at the city commission, and then there's a more extensive notification process. In this case, the landowner brings us forward. He owns the entire property. He's pretty much got what we need, and we generally do those as owner-initiated. You could have done it as a city-initiated, but we try to do it as owner-initiated. Occasionally, there'd be some follow-up. I know there's been some discussion about this area, and the owner across 37th, but he's not ready to come forward at this time. He's still, that's an unannexed property at this time. Does that clarify that for you, ma'am?
Yeah. Well, and when we're talking about owners on undeveloped property, it kind of leads into my next question, which is, so we've got the lagoons to the north. This property's been undeveloped for, I assume it was I assume it was farmed at one point.
I believe it has never been developed, ma'am. I believe you're correct.
So, do we have any idea, was this recently farmed land, or has this just been sitting?
I will defer to Mr. Olson, if he could answer that. If you want to step up there. Yes, sir, just introduce yourself. Mr. Olson represents the Holmquist family.
Maybe
I
just
can, can wait on that question too.
just while we're waiting, what's some more education on annexations? What's the reason or the benefit to annex the land versus not? I mean, why would we vote yes or no?
If you're going to subdivide it and zone it and reach it with city services, it has to be in the city. Otherwise, it's not eligible for city services. Mm-hmm. Which obviously a large development would need. Public roads, we can't special assess things that aren't in the city, or collect special assessments from things that aren't in the city. We can't supply them with public water and sewer to the capacity that you want to develop something like this.
Okay.
I'm Conrad Olson. I'm a commercial real estate broker here in Fargo, representing the Holmquist family that owns that land that Mr. Hyde is platting, and owned the Amazon site, and also owned the other property to the south of Amazon, 40 acres that Mr. Hyde is developing right now. And in answer to your question, I think that land has been farmed for greater than 50 years.
Okay. I think that my rationale behind asking that question was just, certainly this seems like it's in an appropriate place where there's opportunity for development. I just want us to be I guess, intentional when we're taking away agricultural land. We live in one of the richest valleys in the country, if not the world, for agriculture. So I just want to make sure that we're being intentional when we're looking at developing that land.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
I do have one question. So I know that the access for each of these lots, but if it's like a warehouse, trucks would be able to get to access to each lot, if, you know what I mean? Whether it's north, south,
do you wanna address
east,
that?
west, they will have access or,
Mr. Hyde was my father. I am Paul. Thank you for having us here today. This is the second phase of our development of the Dakota Commerce Center Park. We're developing 4 buildings south of Amazon. We just had our groundbreaking for the second building this morning. The first building we leased to Marvin Windows, and we can see ourselves finishing that development in the next 2 years, and that's the rationale for jumping to the site north of the Amazon building and looking at this project. Our goal is to continue with the same type of product that we've developed south of Amazon, which is a mix of office warehouse and bulk warehouse product. And the buildings will be designed to accommodate both car and truck access off of 48th and 37th. And eventually we'll need to build 52nd to get the project completed. So we've got roads on the north, east, and south. And we've talked to staff, the road on the west will be developed once those properties are redeveloped west of us.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dawn, you may have already answered one of them, but with the annexation, does that put responsibility for 41st and 52nd and developing that on the city and improving that road?
They will all eventually be dedicated public streets, sir. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then, over the last 8 years or so, there's certainly been a lot of improvement made to County Road 20, and that has facilitated a lot of the semi-traffic, I think, significantly better. 81 does not look to be, as greater shape with the main part of the road and no limited shoulder there as well. So are there any studies to the amount of truck traffic that this would generate, any road improvements for those kind of feeder areas that would be necessary?
Commissioner, probably our city engineer, Brenda Deering, could give a more detailed answer than I could on that one.
So at this point, we do not have 81 in the plans for reconstruction. It is a rural section, and we'll be watching that as this develops. 37th Street to the east of there is also a rural section up to the Amazon. And so eventually we will have to be urbanizing that. So we'll have to be strategic in how we approach that and make sure we don't have all the accesses being reconstructed at the same time. As this starts developing and we make those connections through the development on the west and we increase that traffic, we'll be evaluating that. Today, it is still under partially the county, and so that will be shifting over to the city also. And as that happens, we'll be looking at those improvements.
Thank you, Brenda. Nicole, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to take this opportunity to piggyback on what Brenda was saying and Donald's answers and the questions from the commissioners here. These are great lead-in questions for our growth planning exercises and long-range comprehensive planning. That will be, the RFP will be coming to you as a draft review sometime in the next, I know we've been talking about it for a while, but sometime in the next, hopefully 60, 90 days. But the questions you're asking, and maybe to piggyback on Commissioner Schneider's question about, why would we annex, really being conscientious about urbanization and what calls that attention for urbanization. And then just as a reminder, rural developments or rural subdivisions are not something we support or endorse without a great level of cause and need, but otherwise, that's why you don't see very many of them in front of you. And really the state laws and the county laws and the city laws protect from that. Other parts of the state have had issues with that. Luckily, we've been able to kind of hold that line, if you will.
But these are all fantastic questions, and there'll be more to come in terms of discussions on annexations and urbanization.
Thanks. I guess I'll make one more comment. You know, it's appreciate having the ET member of our planning commission on here to ask these type of questions, but I know 81, since it was mentioned, and 31 to the east too, it's a very popular cycling route, and that road is quite poor on 81, and with the increased truck traffic, it is a little more dangerous there to the cycling community. So appreciate any consideration for that.
That's why I didn't bike over there to look at it. I thought it was just being lazy, but that was the other.
Yeah, that was a good reason, yeah.
Yes, I've been out on it too, so I know what you're talking about there.
And just one more, following along the lines of the ag, loss of ag land as well. I think what has been developed out there just really looks very quality. The Marvin building is fantastic. The other thing I noticed with this as well, even on 37th and of course around the Amazon property, there are a lot of plantings, trees, new development there. So is there any requirement for that? Or was that just coincidental?
Land Development Code provides requirements for landscaping for all developments, sir.
Okay.
So that'll, when they start building those buildings and go through the site plan process, there are landscaping requirements for that.
Okay.
Everyone might not know this, but my dad was very good friends with Commissioner Stoffern, and I once asked him how they became friends, and my dad simply said, I became friends with Scott because if I ever had a question on farming, that I could turn to Scott on it. And so Scott, with his farm services background, is very much in tune with that as well. And I guess curious to hear your thoughts on the discussion about ag land turning into development land.
Well, the one thing that I noticed, it was nice in commenting on what we'd heard earlier, was that, we don't have that explosion of rural developments around Fargo. And, you go out to Bismarck and you see them everywhere. And it's just they're just plopped down everywhere. And it just seems very haphazard. And I think the way it's been developed around here makes a lot of sense because it conserves agricultural land, but it also allows you to tie things into city services. Perhaps maybe the biggest thing is the fact that it's hard to lay down sewage lines in this clay. So you want to be tied to city services. And that probably has had a big impact on being able to constrict the development in the rural areas, not to mention the fact that you have an awful lot of flooding that you have to protect from.
Thanks. Any other discussion on this item? Anybody from the public? I don't remember if I asked that. So anybody from the public wish to speak on this item, for or against? Seeing nobody from the public, close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve the motion of the staff report.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Please take the roll.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, the motion passes. Donald, I'm going to ask for your advice. We have two non-public hearing items. Do we need to take a break, or should we get through these two?
Commissioner, I think we've probably largely covered this, so I think we can probably go through it fairly quickly.
Okay.
Unless you commissioners know you've got questions on a lot of these.
Let's go on to D1 then.
Okay, sir. So we sort of overlapped here with our last item, annexation of a portion of the northeast quarter of Section 15, Township 140 North, Range 49 West. That is the subject property here. The Holmquist property, there's actually a little fractional acre of city-owned property here, which will become part of the dedicated street. So again, we went through the annexation process here. There's the annexation plat, shows the area. It will be entirely platted in this property, as opposed to one of the earlier subdivisions we did earlier this year where we annexed a large area and only platted a portion of it at this time. In this case, the entire area annexed will be platted or dedicated as right-of-way. In your staff report, there are some findings in relation to the consistency with the 2007 growth plan, which somewhat reflect Commissioner Holtz's comments too about, and Commissioner Schneider's, about connectivity, being contiguous with the city, being along routes that are arterials or already have water, sewer, public utilities and roads on them. And then what happens here is your if your commission would vote to recommend this for approval, staff will schedule this for a city commission public hearing as required by the Century Code at the same time the plat gets there. So they follow a little different process, but they all end up at the city commission at the same time, and so that they would go together on that. So again, I think we talked about a lot of the annexation items in our earlier item. Again, not a hearing item, but a roll call vote, I believe, Commissioner Schneider, to find the proposed annexation is consistent with the 2007 growth plan. It designates this area for industrial development and is contiguous with existing city limits, which is required to be.
Thank you, Donald. This is a rare item, so if there's any questions on the process, feel free to ask. Otherwise, if there's any other discussion.
I just want to clarify, the blue again is the ETJ that's still.
Right. So again, working on this mapping here. Yeah, this is the hatched, the blue hatched is the extraterritorial jurisdiction. The black is in the ETJ as well, but it's designated as subject property. And then everything that's just the regular aerial photo is the city. So there is a piece of city that goes up here between these two pieces still in the ETJ, and then the city sewage lagoons. And then this part is the, as you say, the pop-out, Commissioner, the zoom in there. So looking at that area, yes.
Thank you.
Should have called it VH1 pop-up video, or is that
Yeah.
more your stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just stated yourself.
I know, nobody else here is like, what?
Any other discussion on the item? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve as staff has presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Think we have to take roll on this one too? Yep, we'll take roll.
Schmidt, Aye. Shuey,
Aye.
Stofford,
Aye.
Tassa,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to D2. Donald?
The last one here, Commissioners. Something we see, your commission sees occasionally is a planned unit development final plan. I believe Megan has had a couple of these before you in the last few months. So this, and I'm not sure not all you commissioners were even here when this was originally approved. This project is located on 34th Street South and West Track Drive. Here's the intersection of 13th Avenue and I-29. Here's Cass County Jail as a location there. So this property looks a little bit different than it did when this PUD was originally approved. It was a little bit smaller, but still in this corner of 34th Street and West Track Drive. At the time, it was Cedar Crest First Edition, Lot 1, Block 1. And in the fall of 2020, the applicant, Nate Volmuth, who's with us here this evening, or this afternoon, proposed a senior living development there in partnership with a Montana-based organization, Mountain Plains Equities, and proposed a building. It's a 120-unit building there as a senior residence. It was a planned unit development, so there was a master plan that was approved as part of that. That is one of the entitlements where we actually do have the applicants show us what they're going to build when it comes before your commission. And the PUD was subsequently approved by the City Commission, and the final phase of that, before the applicant can go through and build this building, is to bring back a final plan. So when we look at the comparison of the two, the master plan is pretty general in detail. The final plan is basically what the applicant's site plan would look like. We don't bring in every page of the building permit application, but just an overview, but more detailed than somewhat more detailed than the master plan. Again, this property here is zoned general commercial with the PUD. Since this property was this PUD was created, the land around it, which was vacant at the time, was platted into the West Track Third Edition, which was before your commission earlier this winter. The lot got a little bigger, but the PUD carried through, so we didn't change the PUD at all. The lot looks like this. So here you're on the corner of 34th and West Track, looking northeasterly. And then here you're just standing in West Track Drive looking north. This is the Cass County Jail. in here. Again, undeveloped field, recently mowed. I feel like I've taken a lot of pictures of that project. So here, this is a graphic from your staff report, although there was a laydown item that was presented to you here before the Planning Commission that is an improved version of this drawing. It does show the landscaping as well on here, which was not on the one that was originally in your packet. So that when we bring a final plan forward, we have to look at, staff has to analyze, you know, is it consistent with the original plan? And, you know, if you look at this, the buildings are a little different configuration, the lot's a little different shape, and we did a rather extensive review of this, and it's enumerated in your staff report there. The findings talk about the seven points that are in our ordinance that we have to compare it to determine if the final plan is consistent with the master plan. And as it's explained there, even though it, you know, it offhand looks a little different, it's effectively still the same project, we feel. The building's the same size, the same number of units. The parking still meets the requirements of the PUD. For your reference, the planned unit development was a small planned unit development. Some of these PUDs you see have extensive changes to many development standards. This only had a couple. It allowed residential in the general commercial zone. It specified a density and it specified a different parking ratio. That's the only thing that changed on this. Everything else is as per the land development code would require at the time of development. So as set forth in the findings there, staff found that this PUD final plan is consistent with the master plan. There's a shot of just the plan that was in your laydown item here today, and again goes through the landscaping detail there. Staff's recommendation is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen, and Mr. Volmuth is here to provide any information on the details on this project. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for Donald?
Donald, when we talked about this earlier, do you happen to remember, we discussed access to resources for the residents?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there is a bus route that runs near there, correct?
It's right there.
Okay. So the project has changed considerably. They're not going to add a garage, and
There would not be any garages, and again, probably Mr. Volmuth can give you some more background on that, but there's still, they changed a little bit of the circulation here. Again, when this was developed originally, the adjacent properties were undeveloped and zoned ag. They are now zoned limited industrial. As you may recall, there was a conditional overlay in the West Track 3rd edition that specified buffering against, you know, in relation to this to, you know, protect the residential quality of it. And I believe the applicant is adding some additional buffering in here too to keep that separation, so to keep the residential quality of that up. And there was a map that I did not rerun in this staff report that talked about, that showed where the nearest clinic and grocery store and stuff. Maybe that's what you're thinking of, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it didn't occur to me to rerun that map in the staff report, but you are correct, ma'am.
Just to clarify, it's not a public hearing, so we don't have to hear from Mr. Volmuth.
Oh,
but
okay.
we could invite him up if he's willing to take some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, maybe just to address, you know, this is I think it makes sense a lot here for residential properties, but it is kind of a new area for residential properties, and maybe just give us some background on that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you for having me. The applicant, Don Sturhan with Mountain Plains Equity Group, is not here today, but representing him. Goldmark Design is doing the design and development for the project. They originally found the site, it's in the QTC district, I believe that's the correct district name, which helps with additional funding sources. They also did a kind of proximity of the services that they can get to, and they are scored on that for their applications for their grant monies that they get, and it met all those standards. I guess in regards to the project, the ownership is the same. The unit count is the same. The configuration of the building has changed slightly from an H to a U, which is basically, we just took that, the center of the H is essentially the services portion of the building on first floor, where the kitchen, the lounge, the library, the fitness area is at, and that's basically just has been slid down to the south, more for efficiency wise and also for some utility items. So from that respect, the building has not changed. You are correct in regards to the parking. We did multiple different scenarios since this first came through. We bid the project out as it's shown on the left, I believe in 2020. We reconfigured it to have underground parking and eliminated the garage stalls. We bid that out last year during late last year, kind of during the hike in material costs. And so that came back at a substantially higher number than our original figure. And so basically we retooled the site again. We were able to gain some land mass from the adjacent property owners, which helped us with buffering and with being able to put that buffer on the north side and also change our parking and access configuration. Instead of surrounding it, we were able to have the north side as more of a buffer instead of the entire building be surrounded by parking and driveway access. And so, but the one change is that instead of having 150 parking stalls with, I believe, 22 of them in single car garages, the current plan has the same amount of parking stalls but no garages.
Thanks for the additional information.
And we have talked with, I believe the plan is, we have talked a lot about the bus stop, and it's our goal that right now there's no covered stop there. I think it's the goal of the developer that they add and not add a stop, but add an enclosure for that location.
Appreciate the consideration and coordination on that item. Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Wilmoth. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I will make a motion to accept the findings and recommendations as indicated in the staff report.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Please take the roll.
Stoffren.
Aye.
Tossa.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye.
Holtz.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye, and the motion passes. Final reminder that our next meeting is on Thursday and not on a Tuesday. So please double check your calendars.
That date is September 8th, sir.
September 8th, yes. And we'll get several emails to make sure that we respond that we'll be here, which is always good. And otherwise, welcome to Brad, and thank you again for staff. This was over 100 pages, and we went through it at a pretty speedy pace, so appreciate all your work.
Thank you, sir.
Meeting adjourned.